link you have to the stream?
Yeah.
That doesn't matter really.
Here, no, there you go. It is a giant banana right now, but I did update it, so it's the Boar Clan image. I promise. It's it's professional. I swear. All right, 2750 seems like a reasonable
I
stream.
just saw it.
All right, cool. So there we go. So we're on. Does anyone know how to get to the Steam forums? Because I have never gone there, and I just don't like the idea of going near it because it spooks me. Is anyone able to like post it in there as well, by chance?
Will do.
Awesome, thank you.
Oh, perfect.
Okay. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and I guess just for formal introductions, let's start with Rex and let's just go who you are, what's your rank, and then what is your crowning achievement and what got you to where you are now. So Rex, please take us away.
Hello, I'm Rex. I'm from Estonia, and right now I'm King Rank. So what got me to King Rank was just playing the game, and I got there pretty fast, about 164 hours to get to King Rank. And that's it for me.
Skirl? Skirl?
My turn. All right. I'm well, I'm Dutch, European. I just stumbled upon Northgard because well, it's cheerful and bright, and I'm really impressed by how the well, I like how all the little resources interact with each other. I'm not so much about, you know, being competitive and multiplayer. I'm like, you people are like the people firing the gun, and I'm like in the background taking the gun apart to see how it works. That's just my thing, really.
Cool. And Dentist?
Hey, yeah, I'm a crazy dentist. Yeah, I come from Germany. Yeah, I'm a Northgard YouTuber and Twitch content creator. Yeah, the different stuff on there like guides and stuff. Yeah, I'm King Rank. Yeah, I needed a longer time than only Rex for the game. I started out more like a casual player, and the game got more and more the hang of me. So I felt like playing more and more in that, and that's basically it for me.
Awesome. And of course, I am Ghost. I've been casually interested in this game. I'm from America, sorry. I've been casually interested in this game since I think it was still in single player, when multiplayer didn't even exist. And even though I've been here probably longer than everybody, they can all basically beat me in a 1v1 straight up because they're just that good. So I'm more just kind of I've always enjoyed more of the background stuff, kind of like what Skirl said. I like to see all the pieces and the bits of the community working together in a positive light. But when it comes to very professional play, I'm very much more casual, and I'm okay, but I'm definitely not as good as either Rex or Dentist. So let's just kind of start off with I guess the easiest and kind of the most enjoyable one to talk about. What do you guys think is the strongest to weakest clans? I would probably venture to guess it's either some variant between either boar or goat, stag, wolf, bear, well, probably no, raven, wolf, bear, and I think that's it, actually. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think that boar and goat are easily the strongest clans because they, well, food is very important, and they're really, well, goat is very good at food, and it's a very important part of the game, and it's a bit overpowered right now how they can work with the sheep and the extra people in the food buildings.
Mm-hmm.
The boar right now is a bit overpowered simply because how easy it is to, you know, gain lore. Then comes, I think, stag, then bear, then raven, then wolf. I think is the weakest.
You think wolf's weakest, really? How
Yeah, I agree with Skirlasvoud
Mm-hmm.
that the Raven and Wolf are the weakest, just because their echo is harder to maintain. They need a lot more people on food production.
Mm-hmm.
before they can get people working on gold and gain more gold. So they are definitely the hardest to plate. And with the gold, the food trade ratio to gold is very good. You can get huge amounts of gold in short time and get a very big warband going on. Do you want to play like that?
Yeah, I have Raven 2 on the bottom of my list. I feel like they lack the economical boosts like other clans have to really sustain a late game economy.
Mm-hmm.
I think like they don't really have the tools to deal with rushes, in my opinion. I think other players can have different opinion on that because I saw really good rush defenses on Raven Clan, but I just think they really lack the tools economical and army wise.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have a good, the economic lore tree in the bottom is pretty good. The advanced harbors give a lot of happiness, and greater trade isn't so bad, but they don't really have anything, to stand above the, stand above the chaff, so to speak, wheat field.
Yeah, that's right. I wouldn't
And they're,
also say that they're totally bad.
Right, I was gonna say because I've seen like 801 merc rushes, and at least when you have players that don't expect 801 mercs, it can be really dangerous. I was gonna say I was gonna argue that I wouldn't say that they're definitely nowhere near like goat strong, but I would think that they are at least stronger than bear in terms of like usability. It also comes down incredibly a lot to RNG because that's still a wonderful thing in this game.
Well, the reason for me why the bear is not in the weakest clan is just because of the bear. You can get bear out and two warriors and help your allies so much that it's insane. Clear rogue nest that you would not otherwise be possible to clear in the early game, and help your teammates out. And also the 200 fame bonus for increased production activity.
Right.
It's very good.
Yeah.
But it just takes some time to get it all building up. So they are definitely slowed harder, and that's why they might be a little bit harder.
So then is it fair to
They're the weakest clan, for my opinion.
is it fair to say that the reason that the bear is better in comparison to Raven is just because they're more reliable than
Map
Raven?
control.
Yeah, then they're a little bit slower, essentially.
Yes.
Okay, that's fair enough. So then let's I'm curious to hear what you guys think. People have always been saying goat is the strongest thing in the world, trade OP, sheep need nerfed. How would you guys address taking care of the sheepfold? Because I would almost recommend maybe lowering how much the sheep produce, or maybe even just lowering how many there are on the map, and then spreading them out more like evenly, if you will. So like if my side spawns with 6 sheep, 1 or 2 tiles littered on our side, and then the other team has 6 sheep, assuming they have a goat, maybe there needs to be some sort of equalizer maybe on the enemy team. So like if they have a goat, if our team has a goat player and we spawn in with like a max of 6 sheep, then maybe they have like 1 or 2 shipwrecks on their side, so that there's it's not going to give you a huge long-term boost, but if you get that wood and you get that early aggression, you can go over and try and kill them before the goat hits that late game or something.
Yeah, sure. I think weakening the goat production would quite help a lot, of course, just taking the food of them away. I were mostly more thinking about just lowering the trade, but I think, lowering the food would have the same reaction on the game. I think would be quite a good idea just to lower that food production of the goat a little bit, because I also think it's really way too overpowered right now, just the food production.
I'm thinking of maybe adding a new lore bonus in the substance tree that you need to unlock before you can use the sheep.
Right, but don't you start off with 2 sheep anyways?
Yes,
so like...
but you can only properly use them later on, so that's an interesting trade-off.
Okay.
Yeah, that would slow down the goat a lot.
Yeah. That way it forces them to kind of play like a regular clan until they hit that industrial. It would also incentivize them to be more either all economy or like all trade or something. So like maybe put it like 1 step below industrialist or something. So it's like you have to
Yeah,
go
something like that.
woodcutters, mining efficiency, sheepfold, industrialist, and then you can go for like trading or something like that.
Yeah, it makes the substance lore tree, I think, more useful, and it's all about they have this bonus with the sheep right in the beginning, and all growth in this game is exponential. So if they have this bonus in the beginning, it
Right,
keep
it just
going, I think.
compounds.
Yeah,
It's just basically like if you get up the sheepfold quite early, you have basically 2 food villagers as bonus. They don't
Right.
even eat something. It's like such a big bonus to help colonizing other tiles and feasting, obviously.
I was gonna say, what are your thoughts about the lore tree in itself? Because I know I already planned to have like a sit down and kind of come to Jesus moment about how each of the clans have their own, how each clan. Well, do you guys think each clan should have their own maybe dedicated lore tree, or is it maybe like it should be like how it is right now, more of like a mix and match, and then each there's like certain unique traits that they have. So instead of like the Wolf clan having, 3 lore routes, but they're completely separate from the other clans. Where right
No,
now it's
the innate bonuses that the clans get are always the ones you go after. So if you put those unique bonuses into a separate tree, that's all people will go for, I think. I fear.
right. But what if you have each of the like mining or woodcutters, sharp weapons, and trading? Each of those options for every clan is different. Does that make sense? So like so like if you go as wolf and you go sharp weapon, if you like go for weaponsmith, the first option is like sharp weapons, then you get legendary heroes, and then you can have like something also incredibly powerful. But like if you go for trading, you have veiled threats and then 2 other, increasingly more powerful options. So like each clan has their own very unique but very specialized routes essentially, instead of like every single player has trading, but pretty much like I think it's 3 of the 5 clans have shipbuilding and coinage as their very next option, and then it starts to kind of specialize for each clan. But like I think almost every clan or every person almost always goes shipbuilding as the next thing that they get for trading. So
True.
like, and then afterwards it just kind of it keeps changing. So that way you have like again more kind of uniqueness, if you will, because I think one of the biggest things that I've seen a lot with this game is it's very it's very
Yeah, of course.
similar almost. The only difference is the names and the wordings change a little bit,
Yeah, of course. Like, RTS, like, little bit of repetitiveness is always a thing because it's an RTS. Like, I don't know. I think you gotta like it if you play RTSs. And
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't have too much of a problem
I
with it.
don't agree with that. There's plenty of very good RTS out there. I'm not talking about StarCraft then, that have a very good asymmetrical combat. Like Kane's Wrath from Command & Conquer 3 was very good at that. Very asymmetrical armies.
Yeah.
Alright, so just a quick question, everyone. Who doesn't go for trading as the first lore?
I don't think anyone.
Sorry, what?
I don't think anyone
Like,
goes
doesn't
for
matter.
anything other than
People
trading.
usually go for trading.
Yeah.
That's what I thought when you Ghost started this this topic, that I wouldn't miss I don't want to miss trading anyone because I need trading so bad, I feel.
Yeah,
In
it's
every
really
game,
the default option.
I like that everyone said yeah at the same time. It's like your only option is to go trading. Like right now, it's the most viable thing, and that's kind of what I'm talking about with like the different lores. It's like, well, you could only go trading, but also you could, woodcutters is also a thing, but that doesn't.
Woodcutters and then mining efficiency, and then for the carpentry bonus afterwards.
Right.
But I feel it takes too long to stay competitive
Exactly.
within this game.
Yeah, it takes too long because of the trading. If you don't go for trading, you need to go and get yourself a dock or a harbor running, getting some gold and lore. But that's gonna slow you down because you're gonna sustain 2 people who you otherwise don't need to supply or sustain if you get trading.
I feel like one of the, I guess you could say, hindrances for this game right now is that this game, the economy system is there, but because combat hasn't been reworked, it's the meta is almost whichever clan can produce 10 to 15 warriors the fastest will be the quote unquote meta or the strongest clan right now, just because of how no other clan can do that, you know?
Is that still real? Because I've had high level or high ranking players complain that if you have an upgraded tower,
Mm-hmm.
the early rush kind of is defeated straight from the very start because the upgraded
True.
towers are too strong.
True.
Yeah, that's true.
That's only true in 1 versus 1 duel,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
right.
but in
Yeah, of course, sure.
teamwork with 2 or more people, you can get 2 people, get 10 and 10 warriors, then you can take down the upgrade tower. It's not a problem then.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna basically say. It's in the 1v1, absolutely. I totally agree that the upgraded tower is definitely way stronger than anything that most people can put out by themselves. But when you have 3 or 4,
The
you know,
18 game.
when you have like, I would say after 16 plus units on one tile, that tower just becomes decreasingly valuable, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
That was another thing. Unit compositions. What do you guys? How would you guys recommend rebalancing? Because right now the only meta thing to do is to mass warriors, just because the economy incentivizes basically all ins.
Yeah, I'm always a fan of the rock paper scissors
Yep, exactly.
system.
Mm-hmm.
Like many games work like that. I don't think it would be something like copying it from other games
Mhm.
because it's just so basic. It needs to be in the game, so it would give just a basic life to the game. Because if you know your enemy is going for a wolf warrior rush, because wolf warrior rush is now totally in that time, you just know, okay, I can build the counter for it and I have an answer for it, and he's really bad with going straight to his tactic, and I know what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that should be cool.
Well, there is one problem, and it's a very big problem in the game right now. If you go and focus on one unit, upgrade your military camp, then it's gonna be pretty hard to upgrade the second one, like shield bearer, because you just don't have the stone for it.
Right.
Then you have to make a choice right now. You also need to rework how you upgrade and get your units to be stronger with the combat rework. Because right now it's just, if I have enough stone, I
Mhm.
upgrade the building, get more attack, and then go.
So then, would you recommend seeing like more stone on tiles, like instead of only having like one or two stone options, maybe having 3 or 4 with each stone having like 20 to 25 stone?
Yeah, that would help a little bit.
I would be in favor of making all 3 units just as easily and readily available, and then for them to strongly counter each other. Right now you need to get a training camp, and only then can you get shield bearers and axe throwers and stuff like that. I think shield bearers or axe throwers should be available straight in the beginning, and they should hard counter warriors, at least one of those. And then you don't need to, you can upgrade them just as easily as as you can the warriors.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, it looks like False just woke up. So, guys, keep going. I'm gonna try and get him in here while you guys are working on that.
Alright, I was also thinking like for the combat, like right now we have only 3 basic units like warrior, shield bearer, axe thrower,
Mhm.
and we can only upgrade them by adding stone to upgrade military buildings. But what if we could upgrade the units themselves, like have some kind of tech tree in the military camps to make the units stronger and more efficient, like warriors deal more damage against axe throwers, shield bearers gain more HP or resistance or attack against warriors, and so on.
If I may
That's an
interject real
interesting idea.
If I may interject real quick, I don't know if you guys have seen my the combat rework that I made. I think it was last week. Basically, I can give you the rundown. Basically, I wanted to essentially incentivize that rock paper scissors mentality, where basically every upgrade was only worth 3 iron, and it removed the current ones. So warriors had an ability called shield break, which essentially for the first swing it does regular damage plus resistance on the unit, and then the second hit did pure true damage and basically ignored all resistance that the unit had, which was the shield bearer, because it worked on shield bearers exclusively. Second, for the shield bearer had an ability called Taunt, which when it was a 1-to-1 unit ability, which essentially allowed the shield bearer to taunt any unit nearby for like a 1 second, like 1 second pause, force the unit to attack and swing and deal damage exclusively on the shield bearer. And then axe throwers had the ability called Bloodlust, which for 15 damage gave them a 5-second ability, which gave them 1% unit damage on that tile, and then it was like a 30-second cooldown. Essentially, I wanted to make it so that there was like a that rock paper scissors. Hang on.
Yeah, we can work out the fine detail, but I think your plan sounds good to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was after posting it and then having all the wonderful your ideas are trash. This is a terrible idea. There was one guy that made the comment that while this is a great idea, the problem is everything is based around percentages. So it's not even like I do 10 or like 15 actual damage. I do 10 plus 50% damage. You know what I mean? So it's not even like I'm hitting for 15. I'm actually hitting for 10 plus 50%. And I don't know. I feel like maybe the warrior camps and stuff like that should also why not just give it like plus one base damage instead of percent, and then once there's 2, it gives you plus 2 base damage bonus, then and so on and so forth. Because I think it's after like 4, maybe 5.
I just think about maybe combine your ID with that from only Rex and do like a little tree into the war camps, and for little amounts of iron you can just buy like +1 attack, +1 defense against axe throwers or whatever.
Yeah, that would make also iron very available, like to go and get out that iron, because right now the only thing you really want to do is get iron for war chief and then to
war chief in
upgrade
charge
your warriors. And after that, if you have free iron, then use it, but don't really need to.
Right, because it doesn't feel like you're spending that much. Okay, so everybody, False is finally here. False, give us your name, where you're from, and then as in country of origin, and then one thing that really got you into Northgard. Go.
Hello. Sorry about that. My name is False_. I'm from Canada, and what got me into Northgard was it was sort of like the first RTS. I was looking for a good RTS to play, and Northgard actually just came out. I was browsing the new games, and I saw it in early access, and it was looking like aesthetically, it looks amazing. And the gameplay, I looked at it, and it looks really different. It's really a completely different game compared to any other RTS that's out there on the market right now. And I think that's really interesting, and I'm excited to see where it goes in the future.
Awesome. So we've already talked about strongest to weakest clans, and we are currently in the topic of combat. And I know that you had mentioned you really wanted to add a big bit of this because you just recently done a bunch of unit testing, and we were talking about how one of the biggest issues right now is that when you upgrade a training camp or a shield bearer camp, it basically you have to put in 10 stone to upgrade that one thing. Then you spend another 10 iron upgrading that unit exclusively. So it's like, why would you go anything else?
Putting all your eggs in one basket, right? And there's really no point in investing in other units, because the advantages you get from, say, like any unit countering, that doesn't really exist. Especially if you're putting all your buffs into, if you say like shield bearers, there's really no point in going warriors because you don't get any advantages.
Yeah, we were already talking about the rock paper system and our desire for having one.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? How would you guys? Oh, sorry, we already talked about the stone then. I mean, let me ask you this: have you guys ever actually gotten to those? Those like stone and iron patches where there's like 40 or 50 stone? Should we see more of those, or do you guys think that maybe there should be one on each side? I mean, what do you guys think about that?
right now they're in the middle of the island. I
Mhm.
think the devs want us to fight over them. The only problem is we can get by with just 4 or 5 tiles, and we usually focus all our efforts to achieve a victory from a very little patch of ground without spreading further than that. I don't think it will. I'm going to leave it to others now. I need to think about.
Yeah, right now you're kind of focused on getting 4 to 5 tiles from the start, and then you're gonna start pulling your military buildings and all buildings you have on those tiles. You don't have a reason to colonize anymore, because after the 5th tile you're not gonna get any more happiness. You will get happiness when you get your 7th and 9th tile plus 1 happiness, but that's not such a big deal. And if you have room, then there is no need to colonize, just build the buildings.
Another good point that I want to make is that whenever I'm playing, I usually, like, if I'm rushing especially, I don't go for any upgrades. So even if I have a ton of stone, I don't want to make the upgrades because that's pooling. You have to invest so much wood and gold, which can be used for making food or even more gold or whatnot. So I like spending all that time mining and getting those resources is really costly.
Mhm.
The solution to that would be is to increase the bar for victory conditions. If we are forced to play longer and need to amass more resources, then you are forced to invest. But I'm not sure how well that will go down with the crowd who wants really quick games and,
Mhm.
small meta in the early rushes.
Well, then would there? I don't know. So then, would you guys? Because I think the biggest issue right now again is combat, and do they want to have a longer kind of style game, or do they want to have more of like you said, like a rush kind of early, super early kind of game? Because game length is also another factor that kind of plays into how interesting and enjoyable it is for some players. Because I know, for perfect example, if I come home from classes and I've got 30 minutes to sit down and either play some video games or watch TV. I want to play video games, but I know I can't play Northgard because as soon as I sit down and I try and find a lobby and then get in, either the enemy team is going to disconnect or someone on my team is going to disconnect, and then we actually get into that game, it might be like a 35 plus minute game. So like,
You want it to be shorter or longer than that?
I would like to see the game be shorter, but I also think that they might want to incentivize like higher gathering rates, if you will. So like giving villagers, instead of +4, maybe it's 4.5 during spring, and also having just general better food production for other food gathering things besides like fish is just a joke. I think besides getting it first year, it's only viable then. If you want to have, I think they want to shoot for a 15 to 25 minute game. I think that's kind of at least that it's that very good savory where I'm not spending 10 minutes just building things, and I'm not waiting until there's this like big all in one big fight, and then I either win or lose off of that engagement, and then you get to
Yeah.
do things the entire time.
Yeah,
You need
I'm
to
really much.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm really a fan of this idea to have a short game, but I don't know how fittable Northgard for that term
Mhm.
is. I don't know how much the community would really like it to have
Right.
to really shorten up the games by. I think by upgrading the gathering rates, it would actually not get too much of a bad thing. But I actually think that the requirement of the upgraded scout camp actually were very healthy to the game, because I thought the rushes before were kind of unstoppable in my eyes. But I think that I lost track a little bit. Just
No, it's good. I would I think we can all agree that the upgraded scout camp was healthy. Yes, I mean
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe.
maybe maybe question mark says the
Yeah,
wolf
he's
rush.
he's
Well-
a rusher, and he's down the
Yeah,
way.
We need
well,
down to rushing.
it
like
probably
to
is
now.
healthy.
Hey Brioche.
Um, I'm just going to ramble for a bit here. When I came into this game, I sort of saw Northgard like, well, actually Civilization.
Mm-hmm.
You have an amount of resources and you carry them and you upgrade stuff and it gets more and more exponential and then you reach one of the victory conditions.
Right.
Northgard is not that, thanks to the RTS part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to figure out where is the skill in this game and how do we balance or pivot the enjoyment we have on that. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm hard pressed to find where the center of the skill is in this game and how we exploit it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I made a video a while back about the game either being a 4X or a competitive RTS game, and that's exactly what I had mentioned because in Civilization, you're supposed to spend 15 to 16 hours on just one game. You're supposed to take your time and really thoroughly, there's a lore tree, then you build the units, and there's time for the units, but you're always kind of doing something. With Northgard, it feels like there's this very early like build up, prepare, clear, wait for the joggers to push your tile, wait for the wolves to push your tile, wait for the sickness, and then you're good. And then it comes down to false messaging us in the team chat going, all right, boys, I've got the 3 upgraded training camps. I've got ourselves, I've got the money. Let's go. And then it just turns into this, suddenly it's like a flip of a switch, and suddenly you've gone from this 4X game to this RTS game. And now you're trying to play, the field of both, if you will. Is that fair statement?
So you want to have more macro while you're in the attacking mode, or do I understand that right?
I'm going to launch what might be a wildly unpopular idea and say maybe the combat should be less micro. If warriors enter a field, you will lose control and the rock, paper, scissors thing takes over. And if you lose that conflict or that clash, it's not game over for some reason. And maybe it would be very healthy if they managed to implement something like that. That if someone is militarily powerful, it still takes longer after they win the first clash.
I think right. I agree with you. I've been trying to figure out where we could find some sort of like losers or winners benefit. Maybe like there's a penalty to starting a fight that, I don't know, there hasn't been a fight, or like you intentionally aggress onto another player's tile, and so you get like -1 for warfaring. But the problem with that, though, is like Rex had mentioned, you have, only 4 or 5 tiles, and there's only so much that they can put a timer on attacking those tiles, So it's like, yes, you could set like a -1, but for a clan like Wolf, that really seems like it's an unfair disadvantage because that's their thing. They're supposed to be these super aggressive and very, in your face kind of clan, where other clans like Raven, for example, they want that longer time in the game.
Yeah, but I totally don't want to miss the fast pace in that game. Like you probably know, I like rushing pretty much too. So I think a healthy game always needs a kind of macro side and a aggro side, so they both counter each other, so nothing of both sides gets too strong.
Right.
I think a healthy game always has a real good balance in that.
Yeah,
I
in
think
Northgard, what I like right now is the management, that you have to manage your resources, build them up, and then you can go attack your enemy. So right now with the Boar clan that came out, they have a very good gold tree, get gold lore, and start already gathering gold for army that you can later use, and then get some ships out and gather the lore to get that more gold income, and then upgrade your military tree to have more damage, and then just gather up food and go attack the enemy.
False. Did you want to add anything? I saw you kind of.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, like, to most people, if you make the game cater to defensive playstyles, everyone's just gonna turtle up because that's the most effective way to play, right? That's the most effective way to win. but that's not very fun.
Yeah,
If
very
you
right.
just turtle up and like wait for people to attack and then no one in the game attacks, it's pretty much just a game about who can make the other trade victories the quickest, like who can do the eco the quickest. And at a certain point, um, there's only so much you can do as a player, and then it's just gonna be up to the tiles that you started.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that determines who wins, right?
But I think it
Yeah,
should be
and
more.
Okay, let's
there's
just
also
Dentist, then
I'm gonna
Rex.
speak here if you can.
Okay.
So
I think.
I-
Oh, I do. Okay. I just think it should be a little more benefited if you can see what your enemy is doing. Like if you see that your enemy is rushing, and you already have, fully seen the strategy of him, that you can do a counter for it. So it gets you get benefited for knowing the game good. I think that is always what really gets the players tagged to the game. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
they, yeah.
right now
I'm
there is very big debuff for attacking and being dominant to go for domination victory. You can upgrade the tower to defend that one tile where the enemy can come in. There's
Mhm.
usually one tile, maybe two tiles, but going around is gonna be very costly. You lose more food, so and you need to take down the tower anyway. So you're just gonna go for the one tile that you can attack,
Mm-hmm.
and then the defender, he doesn't even need to get warriors. He can just go all villages, go hunters, go near the tile, go in, attack, go if they are gonna focus you, fall back. If they go again for the tower, go in again and attack again. And then you don't lose any gold or resources. So right now the defending is very good at the start, and later on in the game you're gonna get more people, but you can't get more warriors. You can
Mhm.
just get as many warriors as you have quarter gold, and after that, if you attack once, then it's game over.
Right.
You can't go again
I was
because
gonna
the defender is gonna get more people.
I was gonna say, and we can kind of dive into this for a second here because False and I were doing some unit testing I think a few days ago, and I was playing as Goat, and I got barricades, and I think False, your regular shield bearer was the exact same unit damage and resistance as my villager with I think it was like 3 buildings or something with like that, which is absolutely pretty standard on most tiles. So if you have and we can talk about how to rebalance barricades for this little topic section, if you will. What do you guys think should be done with barricades? Should it be moved? Should it be maybe rebalanced so it's not as powerful? I mean, what do you guys think needs to be done so that we can, I think Goat should have barricades still, but I don't think to the extent they currently have it.
I was thinking about like, what if you debuff the villagers or the workers to
Mhm.
deal less damage to military units or something like that? For now they deal half damage and they have exactly the same HP, but with Code they also have same defense or even better defense.
And you want to give the villagers a penalty against military units.
Yes.
But what would they defend against then? Only the wildlife?
Yeah, the wildlife. And when you need to defend against army, you get your own army.
Here's a suggestion. Here's a suggestion. You know how the villager has like the plus, was it like 15% bonus or whatever for like building production in the actual upgrades? Why not lower barricades so that it doesn't give them the same level, and then maybe have them only have like 45 health, so they're slightly weaker military units, but then when you spend like 2 or 3 iron on the villager, they get that bonus resistance back. So they basically turn back into what they are now, but you have to spend the additional iron for them to do that. So like if you see a guy rushes you and you have, like 7 iron or something because you're still mining for your war chief and prepping, you see they push you in, you're like, all right, I need to pull back, build the tower on my base, so you can still get the tower up and defend yourself, but you also get the war chief, and then you have like 3 iron. Get the iron for the villagers, that gives them like, I don't know, like +1 attack bonus damage, and then that also gives them the resistance back that they would have now. So like they start off, instead of having 5, they have like 3. So they can still kill wolves and stuff, but they can't kill military units by themselves if an entire army comes on.
Yeah, I think that may be okay. I mean, if it's only a few iron, I think it's all right. But I guess you have to. I'm assuming you're considering this with all the other like iron changes that you proposed, right?
Yeah, because I come on, can we? Fair to agree that 5 iron for plus 15% building production's a little on the pricey side.
Yeah, a lot of the iron upgrades are really really weak. Like I think they should be much more powerful. At least for miners, for healers, maybe even for brewers. I'm not sure.
For miners specifically, doesn't it only increase the, I think
Yeah, I've
check
tested
this.
it. The only thing it does is increase the rate of extraction, but not the amount.
Not the
mined.
amount. Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
pretty much useless unless you have a really good field in the middle and you want to extract this as quickly as possible, which just isn't happening in the game right now.
Right, and like I think we went over this. It's a lot of times you spawn with 4 or 5, and the game kind of almost incentivizes you to stay in your base and then push with your tiles that you currently have, where you can go for the middle, but like, when was the last time anyone here took Yggdrasil? I've only ever done domination. I don't remember the last time I took Gates of Helheim, and I certainly don't. Gates of Hell, and
Like a
I
honest
certainly never
connection
touched the
with
dragon. I
Games
tell you
and
that.
Mars. Never went for the middle. No.
Yeah, you typically
We really need a way to make military campaigns both more attractive and less costly to lose when you do lose them. There's some way. Maybe give military units a debuff the further they are away from their town hall. That way you need to slowly encroach towards the middle of the map and then try to dominate.
Wouldn't that though elongate the game? And well, let's stick with that.
I'll admit right away, I'm all about extending the game and making it longer, and that might not be popular.
No. I think, well, to be fair, I would say that we definitely have a higher early game crowd in here, and you're probably, maybe Rex agrees with you, you're probably more like a 4x type of guy, which, hey, there's nothing wrong with. What would you say is a fair time frame for Northgard, which is kind of like in the middle kind of game? It does have very very early game aspects, but it also does, to be fair, have some very solid 4x capabilities.
And the question is,
how long do you think the game should last?
about an hour. I'd be right. If the player base increases, I wouldn't mind an hour and a half, and then I'm happy.
Okay, so you would like to see a longer style game.
Yeah, but
Okay.
again, that might not be. It's hard to see where the devs are taking this game right now, so I'm not sure.
Well, what do you guys think? Would you also prefer to see like an hour to an hour and a half, or would you like to see something earlier?
I would like to have the opinion or option to go in and in 30 minutes attack, kill the enemy, or if then really 1 hour and then have one big fight. I'm okay with that.
You'd be okay with an hour? Okay. False? Dentist?
I'm of the opinion that pretty much the first 30 minutes of every game is almost the same exactly. Like, you're doing the same things over and over. And after 100 games or so of that, it gets pretty boring, so I guess I'm just getting like restless in the first 30 minutes, so I'm trying my best to do whatever I can to get some player interaction, because I think that is the most interesting thing. So if there was a way of implementing some type of player interaction between yourself and the enemy, maybe through military, maybe not, maybe like small harassment type of units or something. I'm not really sure.
What you really need is, right now it's just one single strategy in the beginning. You either rush or you try to survive the rush. What we need to have is, if we go for the longer game, that's already more strategies than what we have now materialize. Like, there's not just rush or defend against rush, there's several strategies that cancel each other out. There's more divergence in the gameplay. That's what.
So then, okay, I could get behind an hour to an hour and a half game, but I think I do personally heavily agree with False and Dentist. I promise we'll get to you next.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Oh,
When
just shut me up.
when we have I do agree. I think that there's like 30 minutes in the beginning where it's just I always start with I can tell you scout lodge house, and then if I don't see a forest woodcutter in my base, then I'm trying to get another house for the next 10 villagers. It's always the same thing, and then it's littered in between with either Draugr, wolf attacks essentially, and then my allies bickering about who's going to take whose ruins or who's going to take whose shipwreck. If maybe there's more like events, and I talked to shout out to Pursue, by the way, who suggested this a long time ago. I would really like to see maybe more like Norse themed events besides just rats, Draugrs, and blizzards. Maybe we have positive events where it's like the Northern Lights or something like that, where you have like the Northern Lights go across Northgard, and there's +2 happiness through like fall and or January and February for it's more atmospheric. So if there's more, I think, things in between those 30 minutes, I would be okay with an hour and a half game. But like Fall said, right now it's consistently the same thing.
And I'm jumping in right there. The Northern Lights could give a lore bonus, and everyone who is thinking about a lore victory can jump in and then set himself or herself upon that route.
Okay, so Dentist, how long do you think the game should go, and how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it should variate in that length of the game. I think that long games should definitely be possible, so that macro players that like to battle it out, that can be in a 1v1, that both players just go for a goat play and just both want to go for the trading win, and no one really wants to rush right now. I had that a few times. But I think that still it should be like a rush possible, so there can be a shorter game possible. So I think like it should be around 25 minutes to 1 hour, I would say. That would be my dream time. So you have short games, you can do it with a rush if you do it good, but you have a chance to defend against that rush and do a long macro game.
Okay, so
well, with the short games right now, there is only one possible plan that you want to choose for rushing, and that's Spore, because of the code lore. And then yeah, that's that.
I was gonna say, here's a suggestion. Whenever I talk about rushing and how quick the games always end up playing, I always reference the Zerglings from StarCraft 2, and how when a person wants to Zerg rush their opponent, they have to give some sort of sacrifice early game for it to pay off, whether that be villager or more drones for production, whether that be for more minerals that they have to sacrifice. I would be absolutely fine if there are games that go for hour to hour 30, but I think maybe making the training camps cost more wood. So if you want to get that army, it costs you more and then exponentially more. So like if you want to get 3 or 4 training camps, maybe the base price is like 80, then the next is 100, then 125, 150 for your 4th or 5th training camp. So if you really want to go for it, it is still an option for you, but there's that very big sacrifice because that's a lot of wood you could be using on trading or upgrades or whatever else you might need. That way, if False does want to...
Right now, if you go for a rush, you only upgrade your town hall and your scout camp, of course, so you can scout out the enemy. Maybe a war camp if you want to do that. I usually skip that to go a little bit earlier, but I think you sacrifice a lot in comparison to a player who goes for eco play, because if he can defend that rush, he has not all the times won the game if you build up a little bit at home, but if you made all the sacrifices, didn't upgrade anything, you have mostly not lost the game, but mostly you lost it. To be honest.
So you'd be okay with keeping...
Go for us with Boar, I also upgrade my silo, to be honest, just to have more food in stocked up if I'm gonna go and attack with army. And so if the enemy decides to turtle up and just fall back and not defend, then I have the food to sustain my army and even maybe go attack second player, and then at the third player I would probably be starving.
So then is it... So the sacrifice comes from just that big one push, and then maybe there's a second wave. Because I know at least whenever I play against Teabag, he'll bring in 14 or 15 shield bearers, and it's just like, oh my god, how do I deal with this? And then the gods bless me, and I happen to ward him off the first time, and then I'm just sitting happy and pretty in my base because I held him off for one push, and then I look back, it's like 802 winter, and here comes another 11, and I'm just like, well, guess I'll die.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if I particularly agree with there is a big sacrifice, at least currently, just because people can, given basically enough time for the defending player to recoup back to normal, the other player is already ready to come in with another army and try and do the same thing again, essentially.
I think at the moment, it's possible to have two pushes, but the main the main problem with that is that you're sacrificing, I guess, a lot of resources, but most importantly, you're sacrificing population, because it takes forever to rebuild your population back to 20 people or whatever if you're sending waves and waves.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think that's okay, but I don't know. I feel like it has to be in a good balance, because you want to be able to keep attacking and be able to not be out of the game after two pushes, right?
Right.
Or two attacks. But at the same time, you don't want it so fast that if you kill someone, if you're killing someone's population, it's pretty much pointless because they're getting people back so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you still have the higher population, and that should somehow give you a better economy, right?
Right, because then you're slowly, it comes down to that efficiency game, because now you're slowly trading out against your opponent.
Yeah, I can see that happen. Yeah, I understand now.
In theory, right? Now, the biggest issue is you'll have people like False going against people like me, who he's marching in with like 15 units, and I've got like 6 people and some goats, and I'm just like, well, here we go again. Okay, so then what is... So I think it's safe to say is it safe to say we all agree that there is still a lot of early game that is repetitive?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, there's only one strategy in all the little mechanics the game has.
Okay. What would you...
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt.
Hi, Brioche.
Can you hear me well? Because
Yep.
my mic is just like garbage.
We can hear you.
Okay, cool. I wanted to jump in on this matter because the way early game is supposed to go was actually never thought to be that repetitive. So this is something really interesting, because I didn't see a lot of complaint about that before. So thanks for bringing it up. However, I liked a lot the idea of having other random events. Mainly because it is still one of our objectives. In the game right now, we only have 4 or 5, don't remember. And we already have 10 events pre-designed, including Auroras and Boreal's lights. So that was fun. And we're going to add them, but further down the line. So
of course,
we can't actually focus on that right now.
Okay. Bear in mind you're speaking to a specific crowd who have played for like hundreds of hours and figured out an optimum strategy. I don't think newbies have this
right.
Yeah, of course. And you also have to keep in mind that in the beginning, Northgard was not thought to be... I'm being completely honest with you right now. Was not thought to be played that long, actually. When I arrived at Shiro, it was like 6 months ago. They just realized that the game has like a much larger potential that they thought at the base. So now we're still trying to understand where the game can go at its maximum potential. It's not an easy thing to do. And for many of these problems, and especially concerning multiplayer games, I would like very much for you to wait the dedicated servers, because it will be something really important for us to see how people react to this. From by month we have per clan around 6,000 games, so it's quite strange statistics. It's not the best ones, but and we want to see if this number like explodes with the dedicated servers and the official launch of the game. If it's the case, we'll completely
Overhaul.
see the game as another thing, something that could be brought to a whole new level. And right now we have only a roadmap until until June 2018. Like we have already fixed the patches that we know that we're going to do, even if we are not sure of what we're going to put in them. But we know where we are. We know that we are still going to develop Northgard for at least 6 or 8 months. And from this point, we'll see where we're at. We'll see the fan base. We'll see the community. If if enough people still follow us, and we'll just adapt.
That's very pragmatic. Thanks for sharing that, Brioche.
Awesome.
One question. Where were you heading in the beginning? If you followed our conversation, we were talking about shorter rush games or longer 4X games of an hour or an hour and a half. Where were you leaning towards?
The game in the beginning was supposed to last at least 40 minutes for a whole game. But again, the game in the beginning was not supposed to be a multiplayer game. It was only supposed to be single player. So the beginning is something that has evolved like a lot. And right now we see that the games vary a lot between 20 minutes to an hour, and we have a lot of games, especially with low-ranked people or guys who haven't played a lot, that last for an hour and a half and to 2 hours. And that's also something interesting, because in these games it's mostly lore victory, trade victory, fame victory. We have actually the second most used victory is the fame victory. Well, that was before the war clan, because of course the war changed a few things.
Yeah, the most fun.
And regarding the war, we will be changing a few things in the next patch, because it's not that fun to play with or against.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll be there to support you with our ramblings.
Yeah, hopefully this kind of gives you an in-between, because it's actually kind of interesting that you mentioned that lower ranked players tend to be a lot more lore and trade centered, where a lot of us are talking more like everyone's going for domination only, essentially. So it's very interesting to see the dynamics between the two, and I think that's actually probably something that we should be very aware of, especially when we're talking about how things can build out, because like you said, a lot of newer players, how often does a newer player know that a Wolf Rush is going to be coming at 802 or right before 802 winter? Like so few.
They have no idea. I've spent like 100 hours, and I only figured out the thing about building a treasury and having a large temporary army after all that time. So it's vague sometimes.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and I think let's I guess jump into what Brioche added here for dedicated servers. How do you guys think dedicated servers will affect the community? Will it be, obviously it's going to be for the better. I think everyone can agree that having dedicated servers will be great. I think it's safe to assume. Do you think that this will drive a larger single player community into the multiplayer light, or do you think that it should be the same? Because I actually talked to Brioche kind of outside of this, and he had mentioned that I think it was like 88% of the community is still playing single player, which I thought was it's a massive majority. What do you guys?
I think it's a lot about that multiplayer games tend to lag right now, and games can be just end like after 10 minutes, like after 15 minutes, maybe like after a half an hour, and just the player drops. And yeah, maybe not because of the player just dropping, just because of no connection with the host, and he just drops because of yeah, the peer-to-peer, I think. And I think the dedicated servers will get the frustration out of that and really let the player play one game after another, just like, yeah, we do, basically.
like we do.
Yeah.
False, Rex?
Yeah, I support the dedicated servers. It's gonna be very good. At least I can't host with my internet right now. It's not stable at all, and people tend to lag. So I'm usually gonna wait for other lobbies to join in. But with the dedicated servers, it's gonna be very nice.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have the mentality that their computer or their internet is not good enough to host the game, and so you see a lot of people probably in like the invisible, where they're just waiting for a lobby to show up. And having dedicated servers really opens up games to some people who might be a bit hesitant.
And this is actually Amazing Lenny's in the chat, and he brought this up, and I think this is also another thing that we should really talk about. He said, usually a ladder or some reward makes people play multiplayer. At the moment, every reward you can get from playing multiplayer, you can also get from playing against the AI as well. Would you guys like to see a rank system? And if you would, how would that be implemented in with dedicated servers? Would it be something that, like, when you go into profile for every clan, you can maybe get a rank based on that clan, or would it be something like overall? So like if I'm a king ranked player, does that mean my wolf is just as good as my bear, or so on and so forth, or would it be individual?
No. Okay, I'll just stop you here.
Oh no.
The ranking system is something that we really wanted to set up for this update, for the December update. Technically, it's as complicated as the spectator mode. It's something that that requires private database, and right now we are still going through the Steam API. It's something that is not well, Northgard in the beginning has not been thought and developed to take into account these kind of things. So it's something that we really want to do, that's for sure, and it will depend on the possible audience. So after the dedicated server, and especially after the official launch, if we see that we have at least I don't know, between 300 and 500 game playing at the same time, well, ranked system and more developed lobby option, and who knows, matchmaking could be something that we will lean on. But right now, it's just something too hazardous for us to do, because we don't know if the investment will be worth.
Of course. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you are a company that, you need to do what a company needs to do. So basically what you're telling me is if I buy 500 copies and run all of them on my computer at the same time, you will get ranked systems for me, right? That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Let me just go drop like 32K for a new computer. Hang on, I'll be right back.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that, guys.
Okay, so then let's play the wonderfully dangerous game of if. If all of this happens, and if we do get all of these people, what do you guys think would be the most dominant clan in, let's say, a 1v1, 2v2, and 3v3 setting for a very hypothetical if game?
So much changes you can't say that, but I'd say that Wolf would be popular simply because combat is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Wolf will be upped in the next patch.
Ooh.
Yes.
So, yeah, spoiler alert.
That's cool.
I think Raven would be pretty nice, especially in a 3v3 environment. I don't know.
And Raven is one of the clan that is the less played, but has the higher win rate.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
It's below Boar right now, of course, but still.
I'd like it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I, for myself, had like always the feeling that Stack has to be popular, just like getting new into the game, and I thought like Stack gotta be popular. You get resources for free. It gotta be great, and I were quite shocked that it isn't that popular as I thought it is. I can't really say how popular it is, but I really enjoyed Stack, and I thought it would be a community boomer.
It's something. The stag is always like our mark clan. You know, the stag is supposed to be at 50% win rate. If it's higher, we should nerf
There's
him.
a problem.
It's not nerf him. It's buff the other clans. The objective for stag is to be the
average.
Standard.
the standard clan
Fascinating.
that does not change a lot. And guys, I'm really sorry. I have a guest who just showed up at my apartment, so I'll have to leave you.
Yeah.
But if I don't know if someone is writing like a summary of something like that.
Yeah, yes, I'm gonna be going back later once we're done here, and I'll be making notes for all the timestamps and all the stuff like that. Don't worry.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Shout out to single player before you leave. Campaign mode.
Campaign mode
is coming.
2018.
Don't worry, guys.
Get hyped.
It's coming.
Awesome. Well, thanks for dropping by.
Sure. Bye, bye, guys.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Awesome. What a nice guy.
Yeah.
But really, though, let's have a rank system. Let's have it right now. Yeah, we can all. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. No, I can't
really
wait
nice to
for that. I can totally understand that they waited a little bit. With it.
Absolutely.
Uh,
You false.
and I
It is
think
really
that
nice to
Northgard has
see,
the potential to do that. What they
Puts
want for
things
it.
into perspective that they're not. They're just as uncertain about this game as we are right now.
Yeah, of course.
False.
No, it's just really nice to see this type of dev interaction
Mm.
because I think this is really healthy for the game. A lot of games don't really have this level of player to developer interaction, and so a lot of ideas, I guess, or yeah, like philosophies of how to build the game really gets lost, or it's just not, one hand in hand,
Mhm.
So it's really nice to see this happening.
Yeah, it's really nice.
So back to multiplayer. What do you guys expect from Northgard as a multiplayer regarding competitive gaming? Do you think it's going to die as soon as it's released like Grey Goo, or do you think that there's actual potential for it to be something bigger?
Well, if it's gonna be competitive game, then it will have to have competitive maps. Right now, the maps are way too random and it doesn't support competitive play at all.
It's also the gameplay itself is really boring to watch. At least, in the beginning. Once the fights start, I guess it's pretty nice. But another thing that needs to be fixed is visibility. You have to know what's going on in a fight, and at the moment, because there's no unit collision, what can happen is you just have massive balls of units that are just colliding with each other, and you just see health bars going down, and that's it.
Dungeon Keeper had massive blobs as well, but they had this very handy war bar where you could see all the individual health pips from the units and really switch them out really quickly. That'd be nice.
Dentist?
Ghost, are you saying something right now?
Oh, I was waiting. I asked Dentist if you wanted to.
Oh, you were muted or something.
Oh, was it? Oh, sorry.
Couldn't hear you. Go ahead.
Dentist, what's your thought?
Yeah, I just think that many games have the problem of bad overview while fights. I think the best way to just get out of it are the control groups. And I think if there are implements like the rock paper scissors system with the armies, I think the army sizes will naturally go down because the people just want to counter everything, and you don't want to commit too much in warriors. I think then because you can easily be countered.
Well, here's a question because I know, and well, let's back up. Let's start with the maps because I think Rex brought up a really important thing that I think we can all agree on. The RNG definitely is a fantastic idea, and I love the idea of a constantly changing map. I think that there needs to be some consistency though in how the RNG is handled. Yes?
Yes. Especially if there's only one strategy viable, then it really depends on the RNG.
I would really like to see preset layouts of maps. So at the moment,
Yes.
you pretty much have like there's the middle of the map, and then there's some weird sort of outline, but pretty much everyone is in a circle. It would be really cool to see different layouts of maps where you have like pre-designed choke points and like alleys, and maybe have one person in the front and one person in the back. So then it's like the person at the back has to defend the person at the front. You know, you can add a lot more game dynamic if you have preset maps and like
just like
location
having
spawns.
a Russia player in the front, like a macro player in the back. I really like that idea.
Exactly, but then if you have that, obviously you have to be able to select where your starting location.
So then would you be
then could be randomized and stuff like that.
would you guys be okay with possibly having like it basically generates one half of the map and then just mirrors it? That way when a player spawns in, you can choose either spawning 1, 2, or 3, and then that kind of creates basically like a triangle. Your team is in a triangle, their team is in a triangle, so the easiest way to attack your opponents is to go straight for that person closest to your enemy team. But if you want to like try and engage them on the sides, you can, but obviously you'd have to go around the rest of the map essentially.
Yeah, I mean, you could have a ton of different presets that tend towards different types of gameplay, and that would make the game much more interesting. There's a lot more replayability. There's a lot more, differences in how you're playing against the enemies in within your own macro.
Okay. Yeah, I would be all on board with that because like I said, I really do like the RNG, but
It's the only thing that makes the game less repetitive right now. So
yeah.
hopefully they'll figure that out before they give us preset maps. But yeah, I'd definitely be in favor of that option.
Well, I guess you could say that the games play out differently because of RNG right now, but the RNG gives you sort of the same thing every time. Does it not? Because it gives you a food tile. So say you could start with a fish, maybe, or a deer and a farm, or whatever. But it's pretty much like guaranteed that you'll have that. It's pretty much guaranteed that you have 2 stone deposits nearby. It's sometimes guaranteed that you have an iron. But playing a lot of games, like the patterns become the same in the gameplay. What's important is that the gameplay changes, and it doesn't really change that much.
The only problem is right now that farm fields they're much better than having a fishing hole and a deer. So
Yes.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Rex, I thought, did you want to add something?
Is it me?
Yeah,
I cannot think of when I went for the last fish. I think setting down the cost for the fisherman's hut were a way, but it weren't the cost of the fisherman's hut that were the problem with it. It was just the efficiency.
Bjarki is actually really good at a fishing hut. They can get more out of it than a farm field, but only if
Only
they go
bear,
through
though.
the subsistence tree line, and it's not worth it.
Yeah.
just
No.
Let's go with false, then dentist.
I feel like the food tiles need to give more of an advantage.
I had an idea.
I
had an idea. If you have several types of food, you actually get more nourishment. Like if you have fish.
Oh, like better nutritional value.
That's a good idea. That's a very good idea, actually.
So 2 farm tiles would not be as good as a farm tile and a fish because you know.
So then,
Because people want diversity, those greedy bastards.
darn villagers. First they want houses, now they want better food. Like God.
Exactly.
We'll also encourage people spreading out beyond their 4 tile thing. So maybe hope.
So then, how would that?
To be honest, having 1 food tile is enough. Sorry.
Well,
No, go ahead, Rex.
Yeah, that's
Right
another
now,
problem.
Hang on, Rex.
if I was to play bear and have a food tile, then I would have to make a choice if the food tile is like 2 buildings, if I do want to get it or not, because I'm gonna have a silo at my main for food production, and I do want to have a military camp. And if I get the food building there, then I really can't go for food and silo, so I just tend to not get that food tile and just go with my silo.
Yeah, I think villages should have diminished returns for every one of them you have. It's harsh, but
What do you mean by that? Like for every villager on a tile specifically?
yeah, something like that.
Oh, so like
Yeah,
they're
that would be a
over gathering
good
on a
step.
tile.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
A tile has a maximum amount of villages it can support, something like that.
Or like a maximum amount of food that can be gathered from that tile, so you don't like throw all of your villagers onto that one like hunter's lodge, upgraded food silo, and upgraded sheepfold, and then you have like 30 villagers on it, so you get like plus 72 food through winter or something like that.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, that'd be
There
cool.
is already a maximum of 99, so it should be possible.
If you're getting to
There's a
99
maximum?
villagers,
Yeah,
goodness.
there's a maximum. I tried
Oh,
it.
I never knew.
Wow.
Who
Really, there
found
is?
that out?
I've
Wow.
had like 90 people on a single tile.
But not
I
99.
think the 100th or the 101st doesn't work anymore. He gets the clock and he can't gather food anymore.
That's hilarious.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Alright, well, yeah, I can see that being useful because that incentivizes building more
Mm-hmm.
silos, because at the moment you only have one food tile, pretty much.
Right. So
I
then
mean, I
how...
guess you could go for more, but...
No, finish, please.
There's not really a point in going for another deer tile because of how good upgraded silos are, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're getting 4.8 food from a villager, you get 4.5 for a deer. Like,
Jeez.
Yeah, in
There's-
case
there's
you don't want
absolutely
to
no
trade
point.
away any food, I don't really think there's too much point in going too much food. Yeah, tiles. I really
Mhm.
like to stay on low tiles and attack, even if I go for a later attack.
As I say, for two things. First, let's talk about... Because I know I've seen quite a few players, and Rex, I've seen you do this, and I mean, I think I've seen all of you do it. Basically, you'll take the first farm, but then you leave the second one, especially if you spawn with double food, like free tiles. And I think, Rex, you were mentioning this earlier. How would... If someone spawns like that, I mean, what do you recommend? Like, how does a person handle the extra food tile while still trying to be aggressive?
You don't, because getting the second food tile will cost you a lot of more resources, and even if you're gonna upgrade the farmers, for instance, you're still gonna need the iron for it, but you want the iron for upgrading your shippers, sailors to get more gold, or then for leaving it for military and warship.
Mm. Okay, that makes sense.
The only incentive not to go for the second food tile is the cost in wood, right?
Right.
Yeah, sure.
And the space, essentially.
So if I have simple living, I totally go for the second farm.
Yeah, the only time I've actually went for the second farm was one if I wanted to do like a super late game, and I just wanted to get as many upgrades and like as strong of an eco as I could. So I would upgrade the second farm, or if I'm bored with handiwork, then I would go for it. But otherwise, like, I would pretty much never. There's no reason. The upgraded silo is good enough.
Okay, so... Oh, sorry, Dennis, you had something you wanted to add?
No, sorry.
Oh, okay. No, that's cool. So going back to the nutritional value and having like more diversity of food, how would you guys want to, I guess, add it? Would it be like a +1 happiness for every additional food that a villager is quote unquote eating? Or would it be like they just benefit from having, like, they get more additional food for every extra thing that's on there? Like, it could be like a longer life bonus or something, like that's like added to the happiness because, or like better nutrients or something like that in your happiness tab.
How about more health? More HP?
That would
base
work.
HP of your people. Yeah, I think that would be useful.
That could work out pretty big, because then what you could do is you could also nerf villager health, base health, to like 40 or 45. That way, like when we were talking earlier about how warriors come in and then suddenly you've got, you know, like the warriors basically just rolling over the, or having to deal with basically shield bearer villagers, then they have lower health because they're not eating as healthy.
Yeah, I think that could be a good balance.
Okay.
Just throwing ideas. You know?
just pitching some ideas out there.
No, it does sound
To
pretty
think
good.
about it.
Like going for the second food tile just to get more HP for villagers.
Mhm.
If you want to turtle, it's very good.
Well, maybe for the military units as well. It makes it worth it for the. No, I think it's fine if only for the villagers and defense. Maybe.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, never.
Well, I mean, the military still eat the foods, so I think because the military share HP numbers with villagers, it would make sense that they benefit from this as well. Obviously, like, it's all up to balance, and you don't want anyone to get too strong or too weak. So obviously, shoe games, if they want to implement this idea, they would have to test it.
Of course.
And the bonus can be anything after that, from happiness to just more food of a multiplication of that, or more HP. It's
All right, so I think we've kind of gone over a pretty good plethora. Let's try and, I guess, is there anything that you guys wanted to talk about specifically? Because I've got like one last point, and then we basically will just be doing kind of like the goodbyes afterwards. Is there anything that you guys wanted to bring to the table specifically?
I do not understand that language, sorry.
As in...
Is there anything you want to discuss?
To add, or add or discuss. Sorry.
It was from Rex. There is one thing that I want to address, which is one really big thing if this game ever does try to become a competitive-ish type of
Spectator mode.
Game. That's the skill ceiling. I really feel like the skill ceiling of this game is really low. You could pretty much play near optimally after just 400 hours of gaming in it. Like there's just only so much you can do, right? At a high level type of lobby, like everyone's prepared, everyone's doing the same thing, there's not much decision making besides like, okay, which lore do you pick? Well, everyone goes trading first, and then you either go for carpentry, or maybe if you're another clan, you do a few other different things. I mean, there's only so much decision making. I feel like a lot of that has to open up to more strategies.
So where would the skill ceiling be then? Clicks per second, or an amount of knowledge of the game, and how would that crystallize?
It's a lot of big words.
I
Holy
guess-
crap.
I guess game sense, and also like smart decision making, because in an RTS you can't, I mean, obviously you could have just raw skill of being able to click in the right places or click as fast as you can from StarCraft, but obviously this is not that type of game. And so because it's very macro focused, I think that it should all rely on the strategies that you decide, and that means that there has to be multiple different strategies. And as we already talked, there's only two at the moment, which is Turtle and Military Rush.
So we're back to the other discussion.
Right.
Yes. So
it would require to. I think combat is a big part of the game, but it should be like not the one-time push, if I understand you right, and not the like late game one-time push. So
Some more
macro
diverse,
and-
essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have
Yeah.
like a play where you have fighting definitely in there, but it's not like a one-time push. So that would be like a mid-tier game. How you can really say that? We don't really have that right now, and I would think to implement that we would need to have a better combat system with the rock paper scissors we discussed before. I think that would encourage a lot of the rushing games would get into mid games because yeah, it can be answered more, and I think there would be a way more interesting game what would be way more competitive in that sense.
Okay.
I think another point. I don't know if you guys talked about this while I was sleeping. Sorry about that. I think balancing, or at least buffing a lot of the elements of lore, like the lore upgrades, or what I guess, sort of the deterministic things in like how you're gonna play a certain game, right? That and I guess some other upgrades. But I think a lot of lore should be buffed at the moment. I think sharp axes first should be viable instead of trading, because trading is always the first choice, and I don't actually like that that's the first choice, because that just narrows down the game even more. There's less decision making, right? That's the very starting of the game, and it's always the same. Different things like coinage and erudition you pretty much don't pick unless in like case scenarios.
Unless you're like boar or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry,
No, go ahead. No, you can go ahead.
That also depends on having more strategies. Lore isn't viable right now because it doesn't directly add to your ability to. It adds too little to your ability to defend or attack.
Yes.
Here's a suggestion for lore specifically. Would maybe as the Boar Clan can already rush, but let's pretend like they can't be that aggressive. Would it possibly make them more viable to have an ability in military called like Ancient Wisdom or something? So for like every lore that they currently possess, they get like +1 additional damage or something. That way it makes it so that the boar wants to go for a slower economy game, so that when they hit that late game and they have like 15 or 16 lore different researches, they can hit for pretty good, you know what I mean? But like they want to try and wait to that point. So it's that big incentive to like, hey, you can go for this early aggression push, but you're not going to hit nearly as hard as you could if you wait till like 804, 805.
That sounds like my favorite lore then, because then I don't have to go for the military tree. I can just skip it, get the bottom tree for gold, and then go for the upper tree, and still have my military strength, which would be very nice.
Okay.
Doesn't it make it more overpowered only?
That's my problem right now, is that it would give them that, like, because now they don't even have to go for military, they can just get 16 warriors and still hit you at 18 damage.
Nice.
So yeah, that would make them the new wolf, but we're gonna talk about that later.
Yeah, but you can make it like not so strong, and I think could help in that sense. Sure.
Where is Tad's there? Okay, so this video was removed because it was too long. Dang it, Tad. Tad made a video that he wanted us to add into the discussion, which I was more than happy to do, but apparently the video is too long, so I don't know how I didn't even know YouTube had a requirement like that, but apparently it's too long. So maybe in the next discussion we do, we can try and include it. I did try, so sorry, but I would assume that it probably had something to do with everything we've discussed. I'll just make some silly idea up, like, hey, what if? Oh, here's a good one. What do you guys think about Veldfernir? I've seen people go for him, but it's more because like he's in the way. You know, it's like, oh hey, there's Veldfernir on top of like 10 stone, pretty worth getting, but like,
God damn bird!
Yeah.
Why did it crash here? Stupid thing.
Honestly, I think Veldfernir and the Thor's Wrath, I think there should be an event, and that tile, like you'll see the bird fly in, and then it just crashes on a tile, and that tile
Becomes
is marked like you can see a flag on it, and it's like everyone in the game knows that the bird is there.
Oh, that'd
Yeah.
be cool.
Because at the moment you don't know in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You're pretty much just like, oh, I just found it. Maybe if it's close enough, I'll go for it, you know. But if everyone knows where it is,
It's fair game.
it could be like a potentially, at that point you can fight for it. And the same thing for Thor's Wrath. In my opinion, I think it should give 10% attack instead of just 5. 5 is pretty measly. Like, I know it's for every single unit in your team, but
Right.
at the same time, I don't know. it 5% it's. I don't think that's game changing. 10% maybe.
This is more.
But
of
you
a-
could do
oh,
like an
sorry.
epic animation where like lightning strikes on a tile, and it's like everyone knows that Thor's Wrath is there now, and
Maybe
and
it
you can
like
fight
glows
over it,
in the
and, like,
shadow if you
because
don't
know
see it.
it's there, you can move towards it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. In the shadow, like I mean, you can look for the Valkyrie, but that's sort of silly.
I agree. Usually, right now it's just the one player gets lucky because one of these 3 tiles, or
Yeah,
the Kaiser
exactly.
also gets in the way.
Mm-hmm. That was going to be something I want to bring up. This is a question because I'm dumb. The geyser is the geyser single or is it universal now?
What?
As in, Thor's Wrath, it's universal. If you take it, everyone on your team has the universal plus 5% damage. Is the geyser the same way, or is it still, if only the GOAT player takes it, only the GOAT player benefits?
I have no idea. I haven't investigated multiplayer
I would
mechanics
think
yet.
it's the
Dang it,
single.
Skirl.
Think I would have minded that if I would have noticed if my happiness went 1 up when my friends took one
True.
of the geysers.
Okay,
that
so it's
never happened to
still
me.
individual in comparison to Thor's Wrath, because I've been harping about this since it pretty much came out. Basically, if it's either both are universal or neither are universal, you know what I mean? Like if I have plus 10% damage universally, that is a lot more valuable than my one GOAT player having plus 1 happiness and only 10 wood production or wood reduction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that would make the geyser tile way more viable. And yeah, just right now I would just take it if I really have problems with my happiness, and I think like, okay, I have way too much food. Okay, I can just go for the geyser and take that.
To be honest, I think the geyser could use a buff where if you have hurt units, you could move them to the geyser,
Whoa.
and they would start healing slowly.
Passive
I
healing.
think that would be really useful. Yeah.
I'm also
Well,
in
not
favor.
not all throughout the territory, but just like in that
Right,
tile,
on that tile
right? If you
specific.
move them
Mhm.
there, they'll like start relaxing and start gaining health.
I'm bleeding out, but I don't care as much.
Exactly.
It's so nice here.
I'm also in favor of putting little buildings down on the geyser tile and the Horse Wrath just to give it more oomph.
There are actual Norse buildings. I can look them up real quick. But if you basically Google like Thor's Wrath or like the Wrath of Thor or something like, there are actual Norse buildings that are built in honor of Thor. So what if when you take the tile, you can take the tile, and for the geyser it does give you that passive healing, but until you build that specific building, you don't get the benefit. Does that make sense? Like, if for the sauna, you have to build, like, little tiki houses so villagers can go and, quote-unquote, relax or something like that, you know what I mean?
It would be a cool implementation. I think then for Thor's Wrath you would think like a building to praise for, but I would then say then of Thor's Wrath buff should really be buffed if you need to do that to like 10% or something
Of
to
course.
really make that viable.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it gives them, like, a bonus or something. I don't know. I think that what they're doing right now is a fantastic idea. I like the idea of having more diverse stuff. I just think that there might need to be a little bit more. You have to put in that investment to really benefit from it more than just, oh, I took the tile, now I've got plus 10% bonus damage or something like that, you know?
Yep.
What do you guys think about passive buffs? As in, like, if let's say again, playing pretend, you built Thor's Wrath, and the only way to get the plus 10% bonus is to actually go to that building and have your units stand on the tile, and then you get like a 2-minute additional 10% damage. That way, if they attack my tile, my villagers aren't also hitting for 10% damage because they didn't make the pilgrimage out to Thor's Wrath.
I like it.
I think that would just slow down the game.
Oh, really?
Because then you would have to, okay, everyone, on the team, let's go to Thor's Wrath, touch it, and then go attack the enemy. I mean, obviously, I'm one type of player who likes fast gameplay, but I think a lot of people would have more fun with that. Because fast gameplay makes for fun gameplay, in my opinion, and a lot of games are like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fighting is fun.
Well, Dentist, Rex,
Yeah,
what are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I would really need to think about that. Can't really say too much about that.
Okay, fair enough. Rex?
Well, diversity is nice, but I'm not gonna add anything else right now.
Sorry?
Yeah, there's like the thing of speed in the game, and there's a lot of things that slow you down.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You have to stockpile food so that you're not starving once you have army. You have to. There's a lot of times when you're trying to attack, there's events that just pop up, and it's like, oh my god, I have to deal with this now, and it's like, okay, I got rats, so I have to wait until I can push. I just made my army. I have to heal them all up first, and it's, and again, going back to those events, like if they add positive events, that could help speed up the game rather than slow it down, because I think after a point, like, sure, having those bad events happen, it's like it's pretty cool, and I like the dynamic that it adds, but at the same time, it's like, does it really add that much to the game that it's worth slowing down the gameplay?
Okay, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, again, certain types of player. I'm a slow player, so I like it because of that.
Fair enough. To each their own. All right. Again.
I have
Ooh,
oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
I have a few. Oh, how do you? My English is going down the drain. I have some topics.
Sure.
You go ahead. I can.
Well, I was actually gonna say the one last point, and then I was gonna wrap it up. But hey, if you've got one more, let's go for it.
Oh, all right. Right now, it's either offense or defense, and both have a lot of crowns involved, right? That makes it so that trade is the logical conclusion of not being offensive. That's why domination and trade victories are so closely intertwined. Is there any way of separating them? You think?
I don't know, because a lot of everything that is based around Northgard is passively based around also making crowns. Like, the reason everyone goes for trading so early is because your upkeep after you get X amount of buildings starts to also exponentially increase. So you use trading to kind of allow you to keep being as aggressive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but right now that does make trade the natural progression of defending against the Russian, then using the unspent crowns to go for the trade victory. That's why it's probably among us the second most used reached victory condition there is.
Going back to like the different roles where there's only offense and defense, there should be an option where you could be a supportive clan, I think right now the only support that's in the game is offensive support, which is like Raven. You can mercenary snipe an enemy.
The
But,
Bear's a quite good support clan.
I was gonna say Bear,
Bear,
yeah.
Like as a defensive support.
Or just
he can
offense or
help you to
defense.
clear out your early
Oh
tiles.
well, okay,
With
yeah,
the shield
yeah.
bearers, I think they're a good addition, and not like a single force, but as a supportive clan, I really like them. Don't know if it's in the same meaning that you mean right now.
I was meaning sort of support as in there's no like healer, I guess, in an RTS, but if you were able to heal teammates, I think that would be a good dynamic, and also being able to support another player through
That-
your eco.
That would make Boar so powerful. All those menders.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had during one of my streams, I was talking to some people, and I brought up the idea that perhaps because the medicine lore pretty much isn't, you don't really ever go for it. Maybe change it to allowing you to heal your teammates as well.
I would like that actually.
Give or keep what it does. I
Yeah.
think it gives you like what plus 100% healing speed. Give that plus healing teammates. That way, it's that
Yeah.
really big like. If you want to do this, you can, but you also get a big benefit for doing it. You know.
It's plus 50% right now, and then you don't have to micro your healers, which
Mhm.
is, which in my opinion, should be on by default because that's just it's just annoying. But yeah, it would open up strategies for where you could be able to heal your teammates. I don't know if you talked about how to balance goat right now, because obviously everyone knows it's stupid.
We, I think Skirl may have mentioned adding sheepfold, like the ability to build sheepfold into like right before industrialist. So instead of having it's
Sheep right from the go being productive, you
Right.
only unlock their use with a low bonus later on.
Yeah, well, also another point is the food trade. I mean, we talked about barricades being overpowered, but food trade is also overpowered, and what you could do there is change it into, I guess, better trading with teammates or something. Obviously not that name, but something that allows you to trade.
Call
or
it
retain
friends with
more of the
benefits.
resources that you're trading.
There it is.
That's a good one. But if you could trade food and wood with your teammates and have it, instead of them getting +2 food for your -6, they would get +4. That would allow you to really bolster your team's economy while they're going for military or whatnot.
I like.
Dentist
Yeah, so
Rex.
you could have a goat clan, sorry, that pretty much, instead of being like this ticking time bomb that you're, like, once you get Jotnar, you turn everything into military. You have a 16-man army that does 20 billion damage, and you have the Jotnar unit that has 5 million health units, and it's like, oh my god. Instead, you can turn it into this really good supportive clan that bolsters your whole team.
I think that should be a good idea to maybe get the goat a little bit out of the military, because he is the clan is so good at economical stuff, and could be a cool idea for multiplayer in doing that, just lowering the army a little bit or something like that. But yeah, the food trade to neutrals right now, I think everyone is in the same opinion than me, needs to be lowered, because yeah, just getting the 12 or plus 11 food out of Jotnar is just crazy, and is uncomparable.
It's
to other
so
clans.
stupid.
Yeah.
This ties into an idea I had a while back. I'm going to make it again here. Raven, they could use a little bit of an edge in their trade. How about the ability for their mercenaries to attack a faction, neutrals as well maybe, and disguise themselves as another clan? So like you have two allies, you have two enemies and their allies, and you attack them with mercenaries, and you can disguise them to, make people think the allies attacked each other. The Thanes will know it's rubbish, but it will cause enough distrust that trade will shut down between them.
Would the units at 500 already be able to do this, or do you have to send a mercenary raid at one player immediately to get that disguise, if you will?
Oh, it's an ability that's unlocked at 500. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I think instead of tying it to mercenaries, I think a better idea would be to tie it to I don't know, like spies or something, or you could just it would be
Scouts.
invisible, but what you could do is, because Raven at the moment, the meta is pretty much just go for sailors, and if you don't have sailors, you're shit out of luck. I think giving it the other option of going for a trade post or merchant style and tying that ability into merchants would be a good idea, because that would incentivize continuing the game if
Maybe-
you have one shore.
Maybe give them
Yeah.
like a lower ability called like guns for hire or swords for hire, where they can do that ability. So when they hit 500, they have mercenaries, and then if they have swords for hire, they can go and do that disruption of the trade.
Yeah. So what you could do is you could target one person and maybe their trading routes with their teammates, or maybe just all their trading routes is harmed.
Yeah, it would give Raven the edge it currently does not have as a trading clan.
Yeah, exactly. So you could pretty much stop trading with for your enemies, which is, I think that could be pretty powerful if they're depending on trade.
And it would give the Raven their supportive ability, so to speak.
Yeah.
Rex, dentist. I mean, what do you guys-
Well, then code just has one more option to do, that's get military amps and code domination, because he can't trade. So what is he supposed to do?
I have no idea what he said.
Yeah, you're a bit
heard
soft
it.
there, only Rex, and watery.
Like, if you stop the trade, then what's the code supposed to do? He can't do anything else, and the other victory condition he can try to go for is basically domination.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
he
would
will
make it a bit of a hard counter indeed. Well, you can't all. I have to admit, I'm not that experienced at the game yet. Is it possible to reach, get a constant stream of mercenaries going before you reach the?
If you spawn with probably 2 or more shores, you can pretty much constantly murk someone to
but-
oblivion.
Yes, but and still make it to the victory condition of wealth.
Yes.
It's possible, but
yes,
it's
you can.
Yeah, easily.
I've done it.
Yeah.
You pretty much just as you're making so much money because you want to be making as much money as possible so that you can keep on working. At the same time, you have incredible income, so you sort of just happen upon the trade victory.
yeah.
So that would mean you need to get 1,200, the 1,000 gold first before you reach the 9,000. You have to, spend, accumulate.
Yeah. But then you can just stop murking, and then at that point, hopefully
You'd be
you
so
would have
ahead.
slowed the enemy down
Yeah.
enough. After sending 20 raids,
Yeah.
you would hope that they're slowed down a little bit, and at that point, you can just have your teammates, turtle up on your tiles, and then just steal the trade victory away.
We haven't really talked about this yet, but kobolds, how valuable do you think they are currently? What would you like to see them maybe do in the future? Let's just start from the top, False, and then Rex, then Skirl, and then Dentist.
Okay, I want them to be useful in a sense besides just trading, or as fodder, or as things to kill as a wolf. I think if you trade with them enough, you could hire kobolds or ask them to do favors for you, like colonize a tile right next to them, or attack a tile right next to them. And so what you could do is, if you've been trading with them and have good relations with them, you could make a wall of kobolds just around as a natural defense.
Make
Or
kobolds great
perhaps
again.
have them- yeah, or perhaps have them slowly work towards your enemy. But at the same time, against a decent sized army, kobolds aren't really a threat, so I'm not really sure. Maybe you could, if you're trading them iron, they could actually get increased damage or whatnot, and actually be sort of a deterrence. But other than that, I'm not really sure.
Rex?
Only.
Alright.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, the trading with kobolds is pretty good right now. You get more gold as the time goes on, and if you trade food with them, they could colonize more or build more kobolds.
So would you suggest maybe for each, if you trade a certain thing to the kobolds, it produces a different reaction? So if you're trading food with them, there'll be more kobolds on the tiles. If you're trading iron with them, they'll have more damage. If you're trading, I don't know, wood, they would be, there'd be more
They
kobold.
would be building some buildings, upgrading themselves. but then it's gonna matter where they are gonna be positioned, like how two different kobolds clan from each of the teams
Okay.
might be good to be some sort of AI allies or something.
So then, would you want multiple cobalt like dens, if you will? Like there's one on each side of Northgard?
Yeah.
Okay. So then, okay, so then sticking with our like circle and then going back a while when we were talking about the spawnings, sticking with the triangles, would it make sense to maybe have the kobolds on the sides? So if teams want to attack on the sides, you can, but you have to go through your opposing team's kobolds? Yes?
Sounds good.
No? Maybe so?
And
Yeah,
if
that
you
could be interesting.
befriend kobolds, then you can just go through them
Mm-hmm.
and don't have to take the tiles.
Okay. Dentist?
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
thought about maybe changing, if you have a really good relationships to the kobolds, that you can maybe say like, change the stance of your diplomatic stance with my enemy, please, to bad conditions,
mhm.
and maybe even small groups of kobolds will start attacking the enemy. I know it can be a little bit too much for some players, but I would really like to have that. Like I trade so much with you kobolds, now I can say, don't be friend with my enemy anymore and start attacking him with small groups at least, so it doesn't get too strong.
Mhm.
Embargo, I like that.
Okay, so
I-
then... sorry,
I'd
go
just
ahead.
be happy. I'd just be happy with the ability to, step into their territory when you're allied with them and not get attacked. I want to put some towers up to defend those guys and maybe use their food tiles. That'll just make me happy.
So then, how would you balance out, like, let's say, because currently there is only one cobalt tile, and in our hypothetical world there's two. How would you balance out? So if we have two goat players that are trading, and one happens to just be trading more with the other cobalt, how would it work out? Like, what's the point where they say, okay, you've traded us X amount of food. What is X? What is that amount of food that you'd have to trade with them, or how much gold you'd have to produce with them?
Before they ally?
Yes. Before you can like walk into their territory without actually doing anything.
Well, if I look at my charts and graphs, I think
It's a question for him.
Yeah, because I honestly don't know how much it takes until you actually have to get the kobolds happy. So like, if it's that point, and then maybe there's like, I don't know, 500 more food that you have to trade with them. So it's like they're happy with you, so you benefit from the gold. And then if you keep trading with them, kind of like you do with the giants, because the giant trade. How do you guys feel about the giant trade while Skier looks that up? Do you think that it's good as it is? Do you think right now the only way to really get it is by being goat? Like,
I saw
Well,
other
you don't
clans
have
doing
to
it.
be goat, you can go a lot of trading posts and still be faster than goat players, but
Mhm.
if the goat knows what he's doing, he does have the upper hand. There's no way around that. And trading with the giants, once you trade with them and they are befriended, then you have no more interactions. You get the hero, and then that tile, wherever it is, near the enemy side, that tile is going to be useless to you. You can't use it.
mm-hmm. So then, basically the only thing that they are is essentially just quick cash grabs, and that's pretty much it. They really don't have much value outside of just, I'm gonna trade with you, get the hero unit, and then, okay, thanks, later, bye, sort of
Yeah,
thing.
you can maybe do it for like a late game army, but I wouldn't really go into a game and say, yeah, this is now my Jotnar game. I really want to have befriend me and have him within my army. I think that's really hard to say right there.
Mm.
Or even like in the starting play, I think getting the Jotnar is more like a decision that gets made really late in the game.
Right. Would you, here's a theory, because a game theory. I've been thinking about possibly suggesting when you trade with the giants to a point, you could actually start recruiting giants from the giants tile. Instead of it being like a tile that you capture, it's more like mercenaries. So you pay like 300 food, you get like a Blaine unit. Or if you want to spend the 500 food, 150 gold, and 5 iron, you could get Blaine himself. but you have to
Yeah,
have
I
like
would
good
definitely
relations
like
with
that
the giants.
more right now.
Sorry?
You could let the neutrals fight your wars for you. I'd like that.
Yeah. But that's like the key of the trading clans. Why not? I would really like that.
Because that way it incentivizes the trading clans to stick with trading, so they go all into trading, and then they hire out neutral camps or kobolds or giants to fight their wars for them, so they can have the military from the money they make, but they also can go into that trading faction itself. Or they can have a military, but they can be trading clans, sorry.
It's one way to even out the thing, even out and make the trade and other victories more viable. Yeah.
Okay.
Just a quick idea here.
Mhm.
What if there is a special event or map object that everyone can see once it's scouted and then trade with them, and the one side who's trading more, then the neutrals are gonna support that side and attack the other one.
Also, you only have a month or so to get a maximum amount of trade with them.
Would be fun.
That'd be interesting, because then, again, it incentivizes you to have a trade-specific clan.
And you would need, I would think so, that you would need to have the trading posts already built. Because
Right.
when the event starts, I think you, or how did you thought that? That it's, you get like 6 months before you get set, the event is going to come? Or is it like, okay, the month starts now, go get as much trading done as you can?
Is it random?
I was thinking it's gonna be like random and also like a special objective like the Drake, like swap it with the Drake, just have big kobold camp there, and then after a year everyone can start trading with them, and then the one who trades more, the one they are gonna support.
If the event is random, that makes the viability of trade luck dependent then.
Yep. I think I like the idea of it being like it spawns in, and then whoever can trade the most gets it. That way you can never like, it's a guaranteed it's gonna happen, but you don't know when, kind of thing. So like it could happen in spring of 801, or it could happen in right before winter of 801, or it could happen in spring of 802. But like it wouldn't happen past, like it'd have to happen before 802 winter. That way the clan that goes for that trading has that, like, it's gonna happen. I just, once it happens, I'm gonna get it.
For the consistency part.
Mm.
Yeah, really too random, I think.
Yep.
So random, but in a certain time.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I really do like that idea. That's really cool. It kind of sounds like you're making like a 1 month Giants kind of thing. What
Or then other idea that could be like both sides trade with that neutral territory, and then how many resources you have traded, that many kobolds both sides are gonna get
Oh,
to
okay.
attack the enemy player.
Yeah. That'd be cool. I'd like that.
So it's not gonna be like one side wins, but both get something, and then they can go and fight.
I really like that idea. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Or just defend with those kobolds or something.
False, dentist,
Yeah.
true.
Of course, I would like that. Just need to think about that. A lot of input.
Right. All right. Does anyone else have any other topics? I'll give the last one, and then we can kind of mosey on out.
Give Wolf, and that ties in with what Brioche wanted us to fill out in the lore ideas. For every person Wolf kills, or if they manage to knock off a clan, other victory conditions are frozen for a certain amount of time. It would make them more viable in FFA. As long as they can keep killing, the victory condition is still available for them.
Okay. But then how would that affect the like 3v3 and 4v and 2v2? Because that would only apply to a free for all.
Yeah, I'm still thinking. Just a random idea. Never mind.
No,
That's
it's an
okay,
interesting
not too
idea
bad.
because think about it like this, right? If it's like 803, right, and it could be like the Call of the Wild or something, and a wolf player kills someone on the 3v3 team, that stops all all win conditions from occurring. So if that clan is like on the cusp of getting it, then as long as the wolf player kills someone, there's like a 3-month delay until they can continue, because it could be like Terror of the Wolf of Fenrir or something like that. You know what I mean?
Ragnarok.
Yeah, yeah.
It could occur in fun games, just killing anyone of the other team just because the one is close to the trading win. So get a little bit more time. I think
Mhm.
it could be really fun. And
No,
players could get hurt that don't deserve it.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
That sounds pretty good. Like if your teammate just goes full on trading and doesn't even bother to get army to defend you, then yeah, that would be a game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then it incentivizes you to try and kill off the other players that are basically protecting him. That way you're not trying to all in and try and kill, the dude that's already super turtle. Just go after one of his buddies that doesn't have the turrets.
Yeah, just right now it might sound be stupid, but if they have a rough way through my teammate, I rather let him die and stay on my trade sometimes
Mhm.
just to get the trade win out, rather than helping him. And that would totally turn down in that sense.
Right. All right, so the very last thing that I kind of wanted to bring up. So, what is one thing or something that you guys think Shiro Games should greatly focus on in the coming months, if you will, and why? False, we'll start with you, and then we'll just work our way down again.
God. I think right now is balance. That's what I think is the most important. That, and obviously they're doing, they're focusing on multiplayer with the dedicated servers.
Right. Well,
But
sorry. Let me rephrase it. Let's assume everything is done and everything is perfect. Like right now, they've dedicated services out, and like they're not currently working on anything. And they're like, false, only Rex, Skirl,
Yeah.
Dentist. What should we work on? Tell us.
the balance of the game, because I think that would help raise the skill ceiling of the game, which I think is greatly needed, and it would also diversify strategies and diversify gameplay as well.
Rex?
And also not have Go be OP. Thank you very much.
Rex?
What I would like to see would be that villagers that are more important than they are right now. Because right now, if we lose that one guy, villager, it's fine in the early game. I get that the villager rack pretty fast, and if I don't have the buildings for it, my population is gonna hit maximum, then it doesn't really matter if he's gonna die or not. I was thinking like we could add some like sort of RPG elements in it, that the villager, if he survives 1 year, he's gonna get like plus 0.1 production bonus or something.
Oh, okay. So like a veteran or an experienced
Yeah.
villager.
Yes.
Okay. Skirl?
Really good at berry picking. I am a pessimist, and I don't think Northgard has that much of a esport allure. So I'd say that Shiro will have to focus on the campaign. I'd really like to see a good campaign in the RTS. So yeah, that's just my odd opinion.
Okay. Fair enough. Dentist?
Yeah, me of course more like a competitive player. I would like to see, of course, the spectator mode, and maybe a little bit more focus, like we said in a long time of the talk, on the combat system, to get a little more balance in that, to counter different unit choices or rush choices, so you can really counterplay against that, and I think that will really raise the quality of the game.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you to everyone that was here for this. Do you guys, again, we'll start from the bottom up this time. Do you guys have any shout outs or anyone you want to thank, or maybe even just do a quick plug-in just for kind of coming out and waking up, or just being here? Dentist?
Oh, not really. Thanks for having me here.
You don't want to plug in your
fine.
own Twitch? I mean, now's the chance.
Oh, no, I'm all good.
Wow, what a gentleman. Skirl?
Not really, no. I'd like to thank my mum and my dad and maybe my guide, but people can find it by themselves.
Okay, bunch of like very humble human beings. Rex, is there anything you would like to say or shout out to?
Well, I will give a shout out to all of you guys for being here. Thank you all. and it was pretty nice to hear and talk about the game, and that's it.
All right, False.
Yeah, shout out to all of you guys. Shout out to Tadsoft, who was supposed. Well, we had some complications, but he'll probably be in the next Think Tank. And that's pretty much it, I think.
Awesome. Well then, thanks to everyone that was here for this. You guys, thank you for kind of taking the time out of your busy schedules, because I know planning this was just a logistical nightmare. If it works with you guys, I would like to try and kind of make this a consistent thing. So maybe like the first weekend of the month, maybe we can try and do this a lot more often and just kind of, leave it at once a month, because I think once a month is just enough time so we can all just kind of go out, do our own thing, and then come back. And
I'd still think it's too much. I mean, I think, do we have any subjects left right now?
dedicated servers will be coming out, and that's once a month. I think is good. All right. Well, thank you to everyone that was here for all of this. You guys are fantastic as always, and I hope you guys have a good day, good afternoon, good night, and I'll see all of you guys later. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Ciao.